leaders what a peaceful protest is all about. Can I start by acknowledging the traditional custodian of the land where we meet, the Gadigal people, the Eora Nation. In doing so, can I remind everybody here, unless you have an Aboriginal heritage, we are all immigrants or descended from immigrants in this country. No matter when you came or how you came, we are here as Australians. Today, over the next couple of days, the leaders of the Southeast Asian nations are going to meet, as you know. Leaders from Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, and the Philippines president won't be here, as I understand. A bit afraid of peaceful protests. But I think this is our opportunity to actually talk to those leaders. This is our opportunity to demand of those Asian country leaders that they not only sign international human rights conventions, they ratify them, but we call on them to honour the conditions of their human rights conditions. This is something that it doesn't matter which country it is, we are seeing this egregiously broken time and time again. If I could talk a little about Vietnam to start with. Now, Vietnam is a country who we do a lot of trade with. It's a country that we have an interest in. Matter of fact, the vast majority of the electorate I happen to represent in Sydney is made up of Vietnamese people. So I know a little bit about Vietnam. I know how the government has a monopoly on political power. I know how there's been a crackdown on human rights in Vietnam of late. Suppressing basic things, such as coming together as we are doing today, being able to speak, being able to express political will. These things are being cracked down. And for those who use the internet, you'll know about bloggers. And I'll just use a couple of examples there. Nguyen Quinn, otherwise known to many here as Mother Mushroom, and Tran Tita. Now, their crime, they were charged and convicted under very vague national security laws. Their crime was writing about an environmental disaster that threatened hundreds of thousands of livelihoods in Vietnam. They also wrote about human rights. But for their crime, they were charged, they were convicted, they spent 10 years in jail for expressing the views of others, for championing the views of others. And I'd just like to talk about a human rights lawyer, Nguyen Van Dai. He got arrested in Vietnam on the way back from meeting with the representatives of the European Union talking about human rights. That was too by their people claiming just and fair compensation. These are issues that should concern all of us because we regard Vietnam as a friendly nation. We trade with Vietnam. I've got to say that I know there's many people here from Laos, and I'm seeing very, very similar patterns emerge in Laos. Again, there's a government with a monopoly on political power, a government that moves to suppress freedom of speech, and most disturbingly, we are now hearing more and more reports of activists, human rights activists, disappearing. Now that should be a concern to all of us. And I know there's many here from Cambodia. I can see the Cambodian flags.
Contingent, yes.
Now, for everyone's benefit, you may not be aware of this, but there's an up-and-coming national election in Cambodia, as Cambodia's a democratic state. Can I just speak about how this democratic state is handling the upcoming election? It has jailed the opposition leader, Kim Suk-kur. It has abolished the main opposition party. It has prevented members of that opposition party from holding political office for a period of 5 years. It has a court system that does the will of the government. And where there is independent voices such as the media and non-government organisations, policy, the government has moved to close those voices and stop people speaking out. This is what we understand to be a democracy. It's certainly not an Australian democracy. We could not stand here, what we're doing here today, in Phnom Penh. We would have the police intervening, breaking it up, and ensuring that the leaders of this peaceful rally would be jailed. And I almost forgot to say, what's probably even worse, only recently, in the advent of the Asian Summit, Seng, the Prime Minister of Cambodia, he threatened Australian citizens. He threatened Australian citizens, if you protest against me, I will have you followed home and bashed. We don't expect any legitimate foreign leader to come to Australian soil and threaten Australians. This is an abomination. This is not what we stand for in our democracy. We're entitled to speak out, we're entitled to express our views, we're entitled to protest, and we won't be silenced by foreign dictators. Now, can I just say a few words about Myanmar? Now, I know there's a lot of the Burmese people here on South today as well. Over the last 2 years, we have heard horrific reports about the treatment of the Rohingya Muslims in Burma. We've heard about the killings, the rapes, the forced displacements, the burning of their villages, all part of a military operation. For those of us that spent a lot of time supporting Aung San Suu Kyi, we expected more from her. I know it's still a military operation, but as a leader of a country, we expected more. We expect fairness and decency for people. What we have now is a massive humanitarian crisis. Over 600,000 people are displaced from their homes, are refugees, stateless, and living in Bangladesh, cannot get home because their villages are being burned. We expect more from the leaders of Myanmar. This is just another example of extreme power leads to extreme control over the people. This is not good. It's not good for our futures within the region. Suu Kyi go home! 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 Now, I know the President of the Philippines is not here today. He decided not to be a no-show. But I did want to say a little bit about the Philippines because, again, it is a democracy. Again, it's a country that we have supported for many, many years and will continue to do so. And there's many Australian Filipinos in our community. Now, President Duterte has declared a war on drugs. And I support a war on drugs by all legitimate means. Ridding ourselves of the scourge of drugs in our community is a good thing. Fighting organised crime and Mr. Bigs, who make profit out of the drug trade, is a greater thing to do as well. But in President Duterte's war on drugs, the way he's approached it, he's given the police and vigilante groups a license to kill. They can shoot and kill people with immunity. People who are only suspected of being involved in drugs. There's no arrest, there's no trial, there's no undermine our courts, our court system. It is an abuse of power. It has undermined the rule of law and the criminal justice system. And I support the role of the Catholic Church in the Philippines when they declare, "Thou shalt not kill." Now, let's take this opportunity, friends, to remind all Asian leaders of what we expect of them. We expect them to honour their human rights commitment. We don't see it as proper that a sign and forget mentality be taken when people sign on to international human rights conventions. When they sign these things and ratify them in their countries, we should be entitled to say that we want you to honour your international commitments. I think we have a moral, if not legal, responsibility to call out on our Asian leaders to honour their responsibilities in that regard. Look, as we stand here today, we can reflect on how lucky we are as Australians. We have a court system that administers justice without fear or favour. We're afforded the opportunity to come and peacefully protest. We can speak freely without fear of arrest or punishment. Our police, and I know there's many of them here today, our police are here to protect us. They operate, they enforce the law, they don't operate for any one political party, and our police are accountable for their actions. And as we stand here, ladies and gentlemen, we are all equal before the law. And that's what we expect from our major trading partners, people that we share a vision of prosperity in our region. We share the view that people should all be equal before the law. But regrettably, in many countries, and including many of our Asian countries, that's just not the case. Look, I think as the Asian Summit meets, it would be a missed opportunity for us not to ensure that Australia gets its point of view across on human rights. I agree with Elaine Pearson when she says that not to actually raise the issue of human rights will be a propaganda success for some of the most human rights abusers in our region. And it could also embolden those who get worried about people speaking out, protests, it can embolden them to actually suppress human rights. So I think we have a responsibility, particularly as Australia fought so hard to have a seat on the International Human Rights Council.
SK Media.